The Vorthak had hunted across 17 star systems, leaving behind the bleached bones of countless species who had dared to call themselves apex predators. Standing 12 feet tall with obsidian scales that seemed to absorb light itself, the creature was evolution's perfect killing machine. Its 6 eyes could track movement across multiple spectrums, its razor-sharp claws could slice through starship hull plating, and its mind possessed the cold, calculating intelligence of a species that had never known fear. Until today, the human colony on Kepler 442b had seemed like any other easy target. The initial scans showed a population of barely 3,000 settlers, scattered across makeshift settlements with primitive defensive capabilities. The Vorthak had descended from its cloaked vessel during the planet's eternal twilight, expecting to find the usual terrified prey huddling in their shelters, waiting to be harvested. Instead, it found Marcus Chen. The human stood alone in the settlement's central plaza, completely motionless despite the screams and chaos erupting around him as colonists fled into the surrounding jungle. He was unremarkable by his species' standards. Average height, lean build, wearing simple work clothes stained with soil from the agricultural domes. But something about his stillness made the Vorthak pause at the edge of the clearing. Marcus turned slowly, his dark eyes meeting the alien's gaze without flinching. "You're early," he said calmly, as if greeting an expected visitor rather than a nightmare from the void. "The evacuation won't be complete for another hour." The Vorthak's multiple eyes dilated with interest. In all its centuries of hunting, no prey had ever spoken to it with such casual confidence. Most species either fled in terror or attacked in desperation. This human did neither. "You know what I am," the Vorthak rumbled, its voice carrying the deep harmonics that had driven lesser species to madness. "I know what you think you are," Marcus replied, taking a step forward. The movement was deliberate, measured, not aggressive, but not submissive either. A apex predator, top of the food chain, used to getting your way through fear and violence. The alien's claws extended involuntarily. "I have consumed the champions of 100 worlds. Your species is young, weak. You have no concept of true predation." Marcus smiled, and there was something unsettling about the expression. "See, that's where you're wrong. Humans aren't apex predators because we're the strongest or fastest. We're apex predators because we're the most persistent, most adaptable, and most collaborative hunters in the galaxy." The Vorthak lunged forward with blinding speed, expecting to end this strange conversation with a quick kill. But Marcus wasn't there anymore. He had moved with an economy of motion that spoke of long practice, positioning himself behind a metal support beam. The alien's claws gouged deep furrows in the steel where the human's head had been moments before. "You hunt alone," Marcus observed, circling slowly around the beam. "That's your weakness. Humans learned millions of years ago that the pack always beats the individual, no matter how strong that individual might be." As if summoned by his words, shapes began emerging from the jungle around the clearing. Not fleeing colonists, but armed humans moving with tactical precision. They carried modified mining equipment, plasma cutters, magnetic grapples, industrial explosives, all repurposed into weapons. The Vorthak's thermal vision showed dozens of heat signatures surrounding the plaza. "This is impossible," the alien hissed. "My sensors detected no military installations, no warrior caste among your people." "That's because you don't understand humans," Marcus said, still maintaining that unnerving calm. "Every human is potentially a warrior. The teacher in classroom 7 spent her youth in the Martian Defense Corps. The farmer from Dome 3 was a demolitions expert before he started growing vegetables. The shopkeeper who seemed so harmless, former naval intelligence." The Vorthak's head swiveled frantically as it began to comprehend the trap closing around it. These weren't professional soldiers. They were ordinary people who had transformed themselves into a coordinated hunting party when faced with a threat to their community. "You want to know what makes humans truly dangerous?" Marcus continued, his voice carrying clearly across the plaza. "We don't just survive extinction events. We learn from them. We adapt. We get better." The alien made a desperate charge toward what appeared to be the weakest point in the human perimeter. The colonists moved like a single organism, weapons firing in perfect synchronization. Plasma beams designed to cut through asteroid rock sliced across the Vorthak's path, forcing it to dodge and weave. Magnetic grapples, normally used for moving heavy equipment, entangled its limbs. The creature found itself slowing, stumbling, bleeding from dozens of small wounds. "The thing about being at the top of the food chain," Marcus said, walking calmly into the center of the trap, "is that there's always someone hungrier looking up at you." The Vorthak fell to its knees, not from any single devastating wound, but from the accumulated effect of countless small injuries inflicted with surgical precision. The humans had studied its movements, anticipated its reactions, and worn it down through superior coordination and tactical thinking. "Please," the alien gasped, the word foreign and bitter on its tongue. For the first time in its existence, the apex predator of 17 star systems felt something it had never experienced before. The prey animal's desperate desire to live. Marcus knelt beside the fallen creature, his expression compassionate but unyielding. "I'm going to give you a choice," he said softly. "You can die here, another extinct apex predator who couldn't adapt to a changing galaxy, or you can learn what it means to be part of something bigger than yourself." The Vorthak's 6 eyes focused on the human with difficulty. "What are you proposing?" "Join us," Marcus said simply. "Humanity is expanding into the galaxy, and we're going to encounter threats that none of us can face alone. We could use a hunter with your abilities, not as a predator but as a protector, as part of the pack." The alien looked around at the circle of humans surrounding it. They held their weapons ready but not threatening, waiting for their leader's signal. In their faces, the Vorthak saw something it had never encountered before: the possibility of belonging to something greater than the endless cycle of hunt and kill. "The pack," it repeated slowly, testing the concept. Marcus extended his hand. "The pack." The Vorthak reached out with one massive claw and gently touched the human's palm, careful not to draw blood. In that moment, the greatest predator in 17 star systems discovered that it had finally found its true alpha, not through defeat, but through the promise of becoming something more than it had ever been alone. The humans of Kepler 442b had just gained their most unlikely protector, and humanity had taken another step toward claiming its place among the stars.